Hey, what up, guys? So, coming to you this morning, another What's Next. This one is going to be on undefeated WBC middleweight champion Jermall Charlo. Charlo main evented a Showtime card on June 29th when he scored a one-sided 12-round unanimous decision over Brandon Adams. No surprise with this win here. I think people were expecting a knockout, though. They didn't get it. Charlo was looking for it. He claims he hurt his hand. I don't really care either way. I mean, Brandon Adams was a nobody. He pretty much dominated the action. So, no surprise with this win. The big question now is, what's next for Jermall Charlo? Well, he has a little bit more of a clear path because now that the WBC pulled their bullshit and named Canelo the franchise champion, whatever the fuck that means, and they upgraded Charlo to full champion, at least he knows he doesn't have to wonder if he's going to get the Canelo fight next or not. Canelo's not fighting him. It's not to say he won't fight him in the future, but he's definitely not going to fight him next. So he can rule that one out. Unless Charlo, though, he's kind of in a lurch right now. He doesn't have a lot of good options because the PBC is not strong at middleweight. They're very strong at junior middleweight, and they're semi-strong at super middleweight, which is 168. But at middleweight 160, these guys are going to have to cross the street. They want to make the big fights happen. So I'm going to run through some of the guys in the top 10 and just kind of take a look at what would be possibilities. Matt Korobov, Charlo just fought. I'd like to see a rematch, but it's one of those fights where Charlo's trying to get a big fight to prove himself. If he were to come out in the rematch and beat Korobov, I don't think people would be surprised because he took him on short notice the first time. Korobov's not a big name anyway, so people are going to look at it. If he beats him, like he beats him again, they're going to be like, so what? And then if he looks worse in the rematch or possibly loses, I don't know. It's high risk, low reward going against Korobov in a rematch. Ryota Murata. He's a good option if Murata gets by Rob Brandt, which I think there's a chance, but he's got to cross the street. Murata's a top-ranked guy, ESPN. They would have to work out a deal for that one. But it would technically be a unification bout since Murata would be the new WBA regular champion. So we got to see that one. But I don't think that's going to be a possibility for him later in the year because I think Murata's going to probably fight Jeff Horn later in the year if Murata beats Rob Brandt on July 12th. My number 8 guy right now, Sergey Derevyanchenko. He's currently number 1 for the IBF title right now, which means Canelo, but Canelo's likely going to give up that belt after his September defense. This guy is a PBC guy, is Derevyanchenko, so I wouldn't be surprised if Charlo gave him the WBC title shot. If he just said, you know what, fuck my IBF final title shot because I'm not going to get Canelo anyways. I'm going to go after Charlo, undefeated, bigger name than whoever he would be fighting for the vacant title. So, for me, unless it was like somebody like Triple G, I don't see it happening because I think Derevyanchenko has this one in hand no matter what, and he wants to see if it'd be possible for Canelo, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd like to see these two guys lock horns, Charlo and Derevyanchenko, because Charlo could beat Derevyanchenko possibly better than Daniel Jacobs beat him last year, and that would prove something. So we'll see. But, again, it's another fight that I don't think there's a lot to it. Rob Brandt, WBA regular champion right now. I'd like to see this fight. I don't think it happens. Brandt's a top-ranked guy. So, again, you'd have to cross the street, make this deal work. Brandt's not a huge name. He's fighting Ryota Murata again. He is looking for a big fight. It's not to say he wouldn't be open to it. But I think Bob Arum's going to throw Jeff Horn in front of him later this year, and that's what I see happening. So I don't think that this one is a possibility next. David Lemieux, I don't see this one. David Lemieux's likely moving up to super middleweight, 168 next. So, and again, it's another cross-the-street type fight. This guy is with Golden Boy, is Lemieux. I don't see it happening. Now we get into undefeated Demetrius Andrade. I think this fight has legs to it, but I don't. Outside of winning the WBO title, it's a risk. It might be a risk for Charlo that he's willing to take, though. And he should consider it, but he should go after some other bigger options first. But I wouldn't be surprised if this fight ended up happening, even if they had to cross the street to make it happen. Because Demetrius Andrade's with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and fights on DAZN. So, but because both these guys are frustrated that they can't get Triple G and Canelo in the ring, I think they would fight each other if Canelo decides to face somebody other than Andrade in his next fight. So it's really going to be based on that. I do think this fight has some legs, but I'm still leaning towards the less likely because I don't know if Charlo wants to take the risk against Andrade. Next up, Danny Jacobs. These guys have talked shit to each other in the past. I would love to see this fight. If Jacobs wants to stay at 160, he's another Matchroom guy, but I do think he'd be open to making this fight happen. And it's a fight I think Charlo might take because he's in desperate need of a big opponent. Jacobs has a good name. He's a former two-time middleweight champ. I think this fight could happen. Would Charlo cross the street to make it happen, though? That's the big question. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. Now, we already know Canelo's out. He's number one. So, Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. This is the fight I believe Charlo should push for the most because for Triple G, I think it's a safer challenge than going after Demetrius Andrade. Now, of course, that's all if the Triple G Canelo fight does not happen in September. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Even though DAZN is pushing for Triple G Canelo 3 to happen, Triple G is not set on the venue. He does not want to fight in Vegas again at the T-Mobile Arena. He feels like he got robbed. For me, that's a mistake for Triple G, but it creates an opportunity for Jamal Charlo. Can he land this fight with Triple G? I think Triple G, if he doesn't get Canelo and he's looking at a title shot against Andrade or Charlo, I'm going after Charlo. I think he's the safer bet, and he's got a world title with the WBC belt, and I think that would be a better option for Triple G, but it's one of those wait-and-see things, but I think Charlo should really push for that. And then the last option I'm going to throw out there is a fight with Erislandy Lara. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look at this, like it's a high-risk fight, and you're right, it is a high-risk fight. But Lara has a name, and a respectable name if you can beat him. Charlo might want to take that risk, and Lara's a PBC guy, so it'd be an easy fight to make. They could fight on Showtime. And, Lara is getting pushed to the back burner at at junior middleweight, at 154. He's talked about moving up to middleweight before, and just to kind of put to kind of fill that void for Charlo before the end of the year to get a name opponent, I think this is a good option. Now, the fight would probably be in December because Erislandy Lara is fighting August 31st, but he's fighting Ramon Alvarez, Canelo's brother. I mean, he shouldn't have a problem with Alvarez, even if he goes 12 rounds. Like, he shouldn't have any issues with Alvarez to where he wouldn't be able to come back before and fight for the end of the year, especially if a world title's on the line. I think Lara would fight him, and it's something, one of those things you're kind of reaching for, trying to find an opponent for Charlo. So I'm really hoping he gets a top 10 guy next. I am afraid, though, that he might not, but I really hope Al Heyman and the PBC push hard for their guy because even though I think he's overrated, he is an undefeated world champion still and a world champ at 2 weight classes. He does have a win over Julian J. Rock Williams, the 154-pound champion right now, and a dominant one. He TKO'd Williams back in 2016. So Charlo does have some credit, and he needs that big fight, and I really hope he gets one before the end of the year. And, that's why I'm laying out such a long what's next on him. So that's it, guys. What's next on Jamal Charlo? True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.